Has this ever happened to you? You are with someone in the same physical space, but you feel alone.
Hmm.
It's like, I know you're here, but we are not really here. I, I'm in your physical frame of sense or whatever, but I know that I don't have your attention.
Hmm.
I've heard this over and over and over again, and I know that this sense of not being seen, not being heard, can really make many people feel isolated and alone. And so the question that we're trying to answer today is, how can you help your spouse see you? How can you get their attention? How can you feel seen? Because it's one thing to be seen, it's another thing to feel seen. How can you feel seen? I think we all want to feel seen as humans. So we're going to talk about that on today's episode on The Anchored. I'm Dr. Latifat and
This is Sheila. All right, let's go right in. I think this is something that you've probably seen videos about how to get your spouse's attention and how, what to do, how to go about it. Number one thing that jumps out is love language. Like, how do you know your spouse's love language?
I guess before we even go into that, my question for you is this. How do you know that you don't have my attention?
Well, I think obviously, I think it's when I'm talking and you're doing something on your phone. I think that's for me. It's like, okay, she's split, but maybe she's still vaguely hearing me. I'll keep talking for a few more seconds, right, just to see. And I'm saying that because I'm guilty of this as well. Like, you're trying to multitask. That's one way.
What
Where
other way? I think that one is the most obvious.
yeah, I mean the other way is your response. Your response to what I just said. I think if I say something and your response is like completely off, almost like it's not indirect to what I just said, then I know you probably were not listening. And now what I would do normally is just repeat myself. But that's just those are just simple, quick, day-to-day things that shows that maybe at that point in time I'm not seeing. And for me, maybe I don't know, it's not big until until it becomes big. Like, for example, it's not an issue to repeat myself. Oh, you were not listening. Okay. And then I repeat myself. But I think, for example, if we're having a really important discussion, right? And then you space out, right? Or you get something on your phone and then you're like, like you're saying, then I know I don't have your attention. So that's one day to day, I'll say. What about you?
I think for me, as a woman, many times, or when it does happen, it's usually over days where you're like having to repeat myself multiple times, or things that we said were it's going to get done is not getting done, or when I'm just like we're coexisting in space, but not one.
One. Mm-hmm.
When I start to feel not nurtured, if that makes sense. When I start to feel like I'm not cared for,
Mm.
I'm not cared about. And usually that's because I haven't gotten your attention. We're like, how are you? How are you really doing? And not just about that, but the hearing part. And we're going to talk about how to help your spouse. Because it doesn't even matter if you have kids or not. It doesn't matter if you work or not. There's always going to be something. It doesn't have to be external that's getting your attention. Sometimes it's also you just like in your own mind, lost in your own worry, in your own thought, in your own concern. And you can be going through the motion and you think the other person does not know that you're not there, but
Yeah.
they know.
Yeah.
So these are the things that can rob relationships because when you don't figure this out, it can start to cause separation,
Mhm.
separation, separation, separation. And then one day you're now going to start telling yourself stories like, what's the point anyway?
Yeah. Yeah. And what just occurred to me as you were speaking in my heart was this is more than just checking in. Like, because we can keep checking in, and before you know it, that's all you do. You're just checking in. You okay? You okay? Okay. You just want to get a quick response,
Yeah.
and then you're out the door. So this is more than this is relationship building. So this is communion, and with God expects this with us, that we come to Him often, we draw near to Him often, while it is still today. Right? Hebrews chapter 3. So we are called to constantly draw near to God. that is how our relationship gets better. Not because God is getting better. We are the ones getting better, drawing nearer. And so when it comes to our relationship, for us to draw nearer, this is more than checking in. This is me now asking you directly, what is your love language? And like we said in, I think in a couple of podcasts that we recorded, that because we are dynamic, it's possible that based on the season, that love language can change based on what you're experiencing, what you're doing with your work, where you are with your career, where the kids are, right, with their lives. That love language can change. So I have to be constantly doing more than just checking in. How are you doing? And paying attention to where you are. So I think that's the first thing.
Absolutely.
Just go right out ahead and just ask, what is your love language? What are the things that help you? Or how can I serve you in this season of life that you're in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What will make you feel loved in this
Yeah.
season? And it's interesting because we have this conversation with our kids all the time where, sometimes one of them could get upset with the other because if
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you, I was just trying to help. And they're like, no, I don't want your help. It's like, I was just trying to.
Exactly.
And then now we have to explain to the person that was trying to help that your help is only help as long as it is of value
Sure.
right now to the person that you're trying to help. If they don't need that help, if they don't see that as valuable right now, you're actually a distraction from you're making it worse. You're not making it better, right? And so it's asking in this season, right? And we're all guilty of that because many times we lead with our own love language. We lead with how we want to be treated, right? How we want to be heard. Like for example, like if Sheila is going through a season where it has a lot of stuff going on in work, for me, in that season, I want you to take things away from me. I want you to make my life easier by taking things off of my plate. But that may not be it for him.
Correct.
For him, his love language may be leave me in the pit of
Despair.
this in the
Find the wall.
of gloom and doom. Add more to my plate, right? So asking that question
Yeah.
is so much more time efficient, right? Yes, it's prioritizing them. So you have to that ego gotta go,
Yeah.
right? But the most efficient thing is what would help you feel loved right now?
Yeah, just
Season.
come out and ask your spouse. And this is where, like we said, it's more than a daily check-in, having a dialogue. One of the things that the author Jimmy Evans said in the book Four Laws of Love is he would have daily conversations with his wife, like sometimes up to like 30 minutes every day. Now, this doesn't happen or doesn't need to happen literally every day, but where it's beyond just checking. How are you? Everything okay? Okay, you're going to work, but it's more like, how was your day? Let's talk. I mean, maybe the kids are asleep, and you guys just have like that few minutes of real good dialogue. How was your day? How are you doing? What is going on? And that way, you can actually, it can help you pray better, honestly, for your spouse. It can help you intercede. It can, like you said, it can help take things off of the plate where the person doesn't, the spouse doesn't need to tell you exactly what to take off of the plate, but okay, Latifat is busy right now. She's doing this in her business. She's about to have a business lunch. So I gotta do this with the kids. Like she doesn't need to, you don't need to tell me how to step in. So that's what we mean by love languages, because it can change over time and season. So constantly checking in.
And the second thing is really related to that. And it's asking,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the most important part. And
And
listen.
listen in. Oh boy, I am so
Asking
guilty.
and listening. Don't just ask and zone off. Don't just ask and think of how you're going to defend yourself. Don't just ask and think of your response. Just ask and actually
And listen.
And the more you listen, the more you realize how little you listen. Because you're like, oh, normally when they're answering this question, I'm already thinking about how to solve the problem
Correct.
instead of just to listening.
And I had this guy. I forgot his name. His name is, I think, is Vin. He coaches people on how to speak. And he said sometimes when someone is talking, you're already thinking of what you're gonna say before they're done talking. And you think you're good, but you are not listening, because you should not have Most times you should not have what you should say before they're done talking. You should listen and pay attention. And I was, when you were talking, I was pulling that scripture because I didn't know it offhand. It's Proverbs 17, verse 28. Even a fool is counted wise when he holds his peace. When he shuts his lips, he is considered perceptive. So even a fool, the Bible tells us in Proverbs 17:28 that a fool is actually, you think of them wise when they just, and and this can be, I think this is what partly what happened with COVID in 2020, where there were racial issues coming up after that, and people were just not staying in the room. Like, no, I know, look, I know you have thousand responses. I know you're not guilty. I know you are not there. But sometimes when it comes to just being present, you just listen. Now, it doesn't mean that the person you're listening to is correct all the time. No, it's you showing honor, showing love, showing regard for that person and saying, you know what, I'm just going to listen. Maybe I may actually really be able to identify or empathize with that person. So listening is that skill that, I'll be honest with you, I struggle with it. I don't think anyone can get there, but let me speak for myself. I'm not there. Right? It's a work. It's a work in progress. Listening.
And what I like to say is leaders go first, right? And talking about like some of the racial tension you were talking about, leaders go first. If you listen to the other person until they're done and be perceptive,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go talk, they're more likely to actually listen to you, right? But many times we're not patient enough because sometimes we're practically running out of time, right? And this is, even as a physician, this is something that has been shown that we interrupt patients a lot. And part of it is because of the what we think is the constraint of time. We think, I don't have time. I want to make sure I address all of their issues. So when the patient is telling you stories and stories and stories,
Come on.
yeah, cut them out because you're like, you came in with 5 problems,
Yeah.
right? And knowing that that data existed has actually made me more intentional about I have my agenda, meaning that I have what I know I want to make sure we do before that visit is done. Because if you come in here with, say, abdominal pain, but we'd like need to discuss your labs, it's important for me to be able to do all of that during that visit. But what I realize is that when we actually give people time to talk,
Yeah.
they don't talk for as long as we thought they would talk
Mm-hmm.
for.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, and there's exception, then you say,
We help
I
guide.
would love to hear all of that, but in the interest of time,
Yeah.
I want to make sure you get what you actually came from
Mhm.
so that this visit is helpful for you.
And that way you're not just like me, where you're trying to always fix. You're just present. So, and then sometimes when you listen to someone and they just vent, and all you can do is just be there and be present, hold hand, or even give the person a hug. It actually goes far. There's a nearness or a closeness that comes about, that there's an intimacy that comes about that can bring about healing more than your response could ever, right? And that's why sometimes, even when it comes to losing loved ones, you have that scripture, we do not mourn like those who do not have hope. But sometimes just be present. Just provide the same comfort the Holy Spirit provided you. Like Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 1. Just be present. Hold the person's hand or listen. Look the person in the eye. Pay attention. And it's something that I know, speaking for myself, I need to get better at. And I think the more we get better at this, the more we can we can show our spouse that we are paying attention to them, right? And the last thing, I think we did hint at this earlier, which is service. But this service is more like day-to-day things, like, trash, dishes, coffee, kids, checking in, text, like things that you may look like chores, right? Things that are just mundane, but they can actually communicate you're paying attention, right? They can actually show your spouse that, okay, he cares, right? She
Absolutely.
cares.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like your car getting gassed up because your spouse knows you hate going to the gas station.
She goes for 5 She buys gas for $5.
$5 to get me home. I know, I just don't like buying gas, but I'm realized to God that is an act of service and love. It knows that, gassing up my car makes me feel well. And essentially, and it chooses. And the thing too is, guys, the attitude does matter. If you're like,
I'm laughing because
what? And okay, so guys, there was a day. Okay, this is fun. This has been years ago. Now I have a hybrid, so it's not as bad. But many, many years ago, I remember one day getting to my car and finding that the little gas that I had in there was like gone. And I was so upset. And I remember my mom was like, "You are upset that someone else finished the gas? You of all people?" You're the one that buys like no
$5 gas.
because God is working on me, y'all. But the bottom line is acts of service, and it's not good enough that it is done.
Mhm.
The attitude
Yeah.
with which it's done. It's like, well, I emptied the trash so you don't have to complain again. Versus I emptied the cat because I knew that it's something that makes you feel good. And like there's just a softening that happens when you know that the other person cares about you enough to pay attention to the things that actually cause you issues. Like some of the things that I tell Sheila, I'm like, that is so thoughtful of you that you thought about that, right? And what I'm saying in that is thank you for
Yeah.
paying attention and caring enough to do it.
Mm.
And it's not doing it just so I can say thank you, even though that is nice and kind to do,
Yeah.
but he's doing it because at the end of the day, he is accountable to God.
Mhm.
I am accountable to God. We are accountable for what we do with this relationship. Like we're going to give account to Jesus about how we spent our life, how we served everybody, each other. And the last thing, and I know that Shirley said this to me many times, and I've said it as well. The last thing that I want is to get to the feet of Jesus and and start making excuses for why I did not support my
Mhm.
husband to be the best of everything that God has created into me. That's my job. Part of my job, part of the reflection of my intimacy with God is this is the fruit. Like is success is the fruit of my intimacy with God
Mhm.
and vice versa.
Mhm. And I mean to crown it all is this cannot be overemphasized when Jesus rolled his sleeves. This is God the Son. Took a bowl of water and started to wash the disciples' feet. I, I mean that picture, Matthew 20, Matthew chapter 20 verse 28 is just I think it's just I mean I'm lost I'm at a loss of words because this is God washing the feet of his creations. There's no greater service. I mean it's just a profound show of great humility and love. And where I'm not there yet because to stoop so low and to do that is just. But yeah, so I mean I'm saying that to say that this is how you get your spouse's attention. Service is so important. It's something that God has called us to, and Jesus showed us that example and says he that shall be great among you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
He that shall be great among you,
So,
should serve. Should
yep.
serve. I mean, we hope that blesses you. We hope that touches you deeply. We hope you start looking for ways to serve on a daily basis, realizing that you are just getting better at this, right? You haven't arrived yet, and every new day, you're trying to get your spouse's attention. You're trying to get if your kids' attention, and at all points, you're trying to serve because everything you're doing, you are doing as unto the Lord.
So what I'm going to ask you to do is if you commit into this, I want you to list tab below. I will serve the Lord. I will serve the Lord. I will serve the Lord because you can throw your hands in the air and say hallelujah till kingdom come.
Yeah.
But if your actions don't match your words, if your actions don't match your heart, the heart that's been renewed. One of the persons, someone said, I think it was Craig Rochelle, I think, that said, what is faith? I believe it was him or someone else, or Apostle Selma, that said, faith is what you call the action that is done from you believing. So faith is not just what you profess with your mouth only. Faith is what your actions look like as a result. So I will serve the Lord. And if you will serve the Lord, do your actions show that? Because God is not going to come down and you serve him. You serve him by how you serve his creation. You serve him by how you obey, right? That's what the Bible said about the person that was on the side of the road and had nothing to eat. And people that were going to church were actually like bypassing, just walking along, walking along. And God talks about the fact that how you serve the least of me. And you will say, but God, when? It's like, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me. Because my child is mine. My child is me. And if you cannot serve those that are under your roof, how will you
Yeah.
become a person that sees people that are outside of your home? Because one thing that God has done is He's blessed you with your spouse. He's blessed you with those under your roof so that you can use them as a practice ground to become a person that knows how to honor people because they want to honor God. So serve God.
All right. We hope that that blesses you. Please let us know how the what you're doing and what you resolve to how you're going to go about serving, because that's the way to get your spouse's attention, and also that actually feeds you too. That feeds you too, right? That helps you. That nourishes you when you can help someone else as opposed to just hoarding.
So,
All right.
and yes, for some of you that are like, but they don't deserve it. Well, neither do we.
Yes.
Neither do we. And he who is without sin should
And
cast.
cast the first stone.
Love you guys.
God
Thank you
bless
for
you.
watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share.
Catch you in the next episode.
Goodbye.